Hi, I'm Eric Kaufman, and I want to spend the next few moments talking about faith. Nope, not the religious kind. I'm not talking about Judaism or Christianity or Islam. I'm talking about what underlies all that. Faith is the fourth virtue in my book, The Four Virtues of a Leader. And faith answers a very fundamental question. What am I letting go? What am I letting go? The idea of faith, whether it's religious faith or any kind of faith, is that you have a very strong belief in something, even though there's no proof. Faith is a strong belief in something in the absence of proof or evidence. And it is that aspect that is so critical, I think, to this notion of leadership. And why is it critical to the notion of leadership? Because sometimes leadership moves forward in planned steps. And sometimes leadership moves forward in leaps of faith. And it is those leaps of faith that we have to get more comfortable with, more skilled in, and more familiar with in order to move ourselves forward, to move the team forward, to move the organization forward, to accomplish what we set out to accomplish. I talk about the other virtues as a virtue of focus, saying, what am I creating? A virtue of courage, saying, what am I avoiding and how do I cultivate courage? The virtue of grit says, what am I sustaining and how do I keep going? But you can be very focused, very courageous, and very persistent, and if you don't have those moments where you're willing to let go, you're not really being an effective leader. And quite frankly, it's going to inhibit your parenting, your relationships, your spiritual experience. What it means to be a human being sometimes mean you have to let go. There's a French poet by the name of André Gide, and he wrote years ago that you can never cross the ocean until you have the courage to let go of the shore. You can never cross the ocean until you have the courage to let go of the shore. Here's one shore, and here's the other shore. And you can never cross the ocean until you have the courage to let go of the shore. This is the leap of faith. This is where it's required for you to have a strong belief in spite of not having any proof or any real evidence. This is where relationships grow and become possible. This is where innovation comes out of. This is where new strategies emerge. This is where investment of money in a new project is initiated. It is in this gap between the known and the unknown, between the familiar and the unfamiliar. It requires a leap of faith. I will share with you a brief story. When I was 30 years old, I had been practicing meditation practices for 10 years. I started when I was 19. By the time I was 30, that was more than 10 years of practice. I really, really wanted to experience what a full embrace of meditation practices would be like without any distraction. So I took a giant leap of faith. I quit my job, I shaved my hair, I gave away my money, and I drove up to a property that people I knew owned in the mountains of New Mexico, and I built a cabin in the woods. My cabin in the woods. I moved into that cabin and I stayed there for a week, and a month, and a quarter, and 6 months. It ended up being a year of being in this cabin. And one of the great learnings I took out of it was that so much of our learning is done by accumulation. I went to middle school, I went to high school, I went to college, I went to graduate. It's accumulation. I went to work, and when I went to work, it was how much do you know, how much more can you do, how much more can you learn, how much more certified can you get, how many more continuing education programs and personal development, professional development. You know what I'm talking about. It's acquisition, it's more, it's adding. Sometimes the power of growth is not in acquiring more. Sometimes the power of growth is by subtraction. This is the leap of faith. At times, it's the willingness to let go. And one of the great ways that I know, personally and that other people have found to be so powerful as a way to practice and learn this is through mindfulness practices. And so here's my briefest introduction of how you can practice mindfulness in your day-to-day life and work as a leader. There are essentially 4 B's that you have to be aware of that form mindfulness. The first B is breath. Mindfulness practice is very focused on the experience of breathing. I just took a deep breath. It doesn't have to be a deep breath. It's any kind of motion, the sensation of air, the flow of energy as you oxygenate your body. Breath is the first B in mindfulness practice. When you're at work, be aware of your breath. When you're in an argument, you breathe differently than when you're in flow. When you're excited, you breathe differently than when you're bored. What is your breath doing? Pay attention to your breath. There's more to it, though. There's the body. Mindfulness of body says, what are the sensations? Am I anxious and everything is tight in my chest? Am I excited and things are tingling? Do I feel my intuition as a rising energy that comes up through my body? Do I know what uncertainty feels like? Do I know what anger feels like? Do I know what suspicion feels like? Do I know what innovation feels like? What's happening in the body? There's a wisdom in the body that is undeniable. Then, of course, there's the brain. What's going on in your head? Are you mindful of your thoughts? Are you aware of your internal conversation, your loops of ideas, your unexamined beliefs? Can they be examined? What's happening in your thinking and in your mind? Because more often than not, we get distracted rather than focused when we're going into our brain. And there's the final one, which is beyond. Beyond, meaning here's what's happening in the breath level, here's what's happening in your body, this is what's going on in your brain in terms of thoughts, but there is a dimension that is even beyond that. There's a greater world than the immediacy of your body and your brain and your breath and your ego-centered self. There's other people, there are other energies, there are other possibilities. I'm sharing this all with you because the notion of letting go is empowered and enabled and activated when you can let go of your insistence, when you can let go of your outdated ideas, when you can let go of your small-minded thinking, when you can let go of some of your fears. The leap of faith, going from the known shore to the desirable shore, requires that you at some point surrender and release, and to do that, you can practice it. You can continuously develop the skill to, in some small way, expand beyond the immediacy of your desire. That's ultimately what you have to let go, the desire and the fear. And mindfulness practice is a proven, thousands of years old methodology for getting there. I invite you, I encourage you, I implore you, look into what it's going to take for you to be more effective at letting go, because it ultimately empowers all the other skills, abilities, and virtues of your journey as a leader. Good luck on the journey.